I'm now joined by Michele de Nevers from the World Bank. Welcome, Michele.
Thank you.
Tell me a bit about the Environment Department at the World Bank, what its role is.
The role of the Environment Department is to try to infuse environmental sustainability in all the programs that the World Bank does, all of its analytical work and its project work and lending. So we are a little bit the conscience of the World Bank in terms of environmental sustainability. We provide the analysis and the data and the direction for the rest of the departments of the bank that do a lot of the lending on how they can achieve environmental sustainability.
Why was it important that you attend the Governor's Global Summit on Climate Change?
For us, climate change is a development issue. Developing countries will be the most severely impacted by climate change. The impacts of climate change will affect the poorest of the poor countries. There are about a half a dozen developing countries that will become important sources of greenhouse gas emissions. But the big development issue in climate change is the impact that climate change will have on the poor countries in terms of sea level rise, disease, drought, changes in agricultural practices, water scarcity. Some of these are already existing problems, but climate change will make them much worse. So for us, it's a development issue, and the solution to climate change needs to be closely built into development strategy and development planning.
And how does the World Bank provide solutions to these countries that may be even more threatened than they are?
We do a lot of analytical work, we do a lot of studies, we both on the climate change adaptation side as well as the mitigation side. On mitigation, we have worked with the 6 sort of major emitting countries to do studies on low carbon growth strategies to help them plan what the economic development path will be while trying to reduce carbon. We do a lot of work with countries on how they can make their investments in all sectors climate smart, what we call climate smart, or resilient to the impacts of climate changes, whether it's agriculture, thinking about what new kinds of species they need to plant, changes in particularly sustainable land management, soil tilling, soil conservation kinds of practices. So we really are working with countries in all areas of their investment. We're also trying to help developing countries increase their awareness of what the impacts of climate change will be for them. Many developing countries didn't pay attention to climate change for a long time. They thought it was an issue for the rich countries to figure out how they were going to reduce their emissions, until they started realizing that they themselves were suffering from the impacts. We've recently completed a study on the economic costs of adaptation to climate change, which shows that the major costs will be absorbed in coastal cities and in coastal areas. And so then, since that's where the bulk of populations are, we're doing a lot of work with countries to figure out how to climate-proof their cities.
Well, that seems like you're doing a lot of great work
there.
And very quickly, what do you hope to accomplish from attending this summit and this summit in general?
Well, a couple of things. I think the summit is important as an awareness-raising tool for American audiences. We work a lot. We work a lot with partners in European countries and in the United States. And we find that there is a much higher level of awareness and concern in all European countries and even in developing countries than there is in the United States. So I think that this summit can play a very important role in highlighting and making people aware of the issue. Certainly the leadership of the governors is important in raising awareness on the issue and also making the issue, unbundling it and making it more amenable to solution. When people think about climate change, they tend to throw up their hands and think, it's too big a problem, there's nothing I can do. But when you bring it down to the state level, people realize that this is a local problem, this is a local challenge, something we can deal with. From our point of view in the World Bank, I'll be on the panel tomorrow on adaptation, and we think it's an opportunity to raise awareness of the fact that really climate change is an issue that will affect most severely developing countries, and it's something that people need to think about in terms of development.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Michele de Nevers, for your good work, and enjoy the rest of the summit.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.